What's going on, guys? SB here. I want to have a conversation real quick with y'all. Man, I wish I would have had some water in this dang car. Might be a little dry today. Um, Quick conversation that I wanted to go over with y'all today about um, longevity. I know I've done a couple of videos on this, but I feel like I got to take it a step further with y'all because I've been hearing a lot of talk in these streets. Um, I have let me see if I can push this up a little bit. I have a new device holding my camera here, and I need to tighten it up. So this video might be a little bit sloppy, but I'm gonna do my best. So I've been hearing a lot of people talk about projection and longevity in such a way and in such a frequency where I am learning some things about my community. Number one, over 95% of the community that I have interacted with, I can tell you guys don't mess with boosters, IOE supers, ISOE supers, ISOE super, I think that's what it is. Oils, or combo your fragrances. And I know some people are going to hear this and be like, what? Of course I do. I ain't talking to you. And the reason why I've discovered this is because of how often projection and longevity get discussed. It seems like the clone conversation, all clone discussion is the number one most talked about subject matter in these streets. And number two is projection and longevity. It's a very important thing, guys. I think. I mean, it has to be to you guys that a fragrance lasts long. But if you have any knowledge about oils, boosters, lotions, and hygiene, this should not be as big of a discussion as we've made it to be. Yes, I would love for a fragrance to go the distance, be able to spray it in the morning, and not worry about it for the rest of the day. But if that is your prerequisite to everything you're evaluating, you are toast. You are leaving so many good cents on the table. So many. And it's unfortunate. Now, granted, 90% of y'all ain't collectors. So that doesn't really matter because you only need to find 5 to 10 fragrances and you're straight. So you're going to find some longevity. Look at that little, look at this. Looks like he's chasing that dude with the tractor. So, if you only have a couple fragrances, you're going to find your longevity. Just go into any Sephora. You got plenty of designers that go the distance. But man, I am just kind of shocked, low-key, at how crazy of a conversation this is. I feel like in 2026, it should not be that big of a deal because of all the things available to enhance your fragrance. Now, I do think there should be, a standard of which, like, if a fragrance don't go at least 3-4 hours or something, yeah, I can see how that could be a problem. But even then, if the fragrance only goes 3-4 hours, you should still be able to boost it to 5 easy. And a lot of y'all sissy spray, man. 10 below. You don't go anything over 10. And so you're spraying light and hoping things go the distance. I'm fresh out of bed with it, so I ain't going to have much to say about this, but I just wanted to vent, so this won't be a really long conversation. But man, I'm just blown away how much the projection and longevity talk gets talked about. And it makes me think, like, man, y'all aren't doing much. Like, because when y'all talk about projection and longevity, I don't hear anybody talking about, like, man, my skincare routine is solid. Hey, I do all the stuff. I've got the booster, or I layer, or I spray 15 times, I still don't get longevity. It's never none of the orders of operations that, normally you'd say something like that, like, man, I've tried everything. But a lot of it's just like projection and longevity, and then we move on to the next fragrance that actually has it. So it's kind of unfortunate. I think a lot of you guys are missing out, leaving a lot of great fragrances on the table, which is fine because I'll snag them all up for you. I don't care. But yeah, it's just, it's sucky. I want to know from the community though, like, when you first got into collecting or just buying fragrances, I know projection and longevity was important to you because we all have YouTube, and that's what everybody else be talking about as well. But in your journey in fragrance, has your perception of that conversation changed? Have you found any real solutions to deal with it other than just buying another fragrance loaded with ambroxan or vanillin or ISO-E Super? Um, what have you guys actually been doing to address this problem other than just buying beast mode fragrances? And again, I think the biggest hurdle for me in this conversation is just that a lot of times the fixatives and the materials being used to get that longevity come with a steep sacrifice, which is scent profile. Getting 30 minutes to an hour of a beautiful full range scent profile, but then having a dry down that's essentially one compound or two notes or a flat smell. That's normally the sacrifice you're going to get with that 8+ hour fragrance that you got on your shelf. Pay attention to it. Take all your beast mode fragrances, wear them for a month or so, and just pay attention to the dry down. Just see, the smell you get from hour 2 to 12. Compare that to that opening and see how much it changes. We've talked about a lot of brands. I've mentioned some Chris Collins. Shout out to Chris because, they're on to something. They just need a little work. Even Goldfield and Banks, a lot of your favorite clones, Aqua de Parma. You're getting into stuff that has some of the most beautiful openings in perfume history for about 15 minutes until it dries down into one thing. And so there's that. And then lastly, I'll just wrap up by saying, there's a reason we have a top, middle, and base. And that's because the top and the heart don't last. You get a beautiful opening, and that just comes with the game. And you got to transition the illusion that the scent profile is still full-bodied and detailed into the base. Because when you get to the base, which is fairly quick, that's all you have left for most of the wearing experience. And so you need to have materials that don't drop off within that first hour. You need to, at least if it's possible, structure your composition to where the heart notes do last longer than that hour so that that transition is smooth and seamless. And the slower and smoother the transition is, the more the illusion that that detail is still there in the base when you're walking around getting that essence of that scent will feel like it's still there, therefore giving you the perception of a more detailed scent profile. I really feel like a lot of brands are using top notes and in a lot of cases heart notes that don't go beyond an hour. They're using cheaper materials, and sometimes a high quality material doesn't come with longevity. Longevity has nothing to do with the quality sometimes. So it's not even a conversation of they're just using cheap materials, that's why it doesn't last. Sometimes it's the type of materials. If you're dealing with citruses, they're going to evaporate lightning fast. But I think there's things that perfumers can do. And I also think that there's a lot of stuff we can do as consumers to increase and play with this magic trick of perfumery that is the top, middle, and dry down, or top, middle, and base, and the dry down experience that can leave that stuff in the air a lot longer and allow us to not care as much, which will allow us to buy. We'll have more options to buy because our standards can open up just a little bit to allow us to get into scents that might have a shorter projection and longevity, but that we can manipulate to go the distance. I know this ain't that interesting of a conversation, but I think it's really important if you wear fragrances a lot. It is a very important conversation. It's essential to your journey. It affects how you pick fragrances and buy fragrances. It affects your wearing experience. It affects how much joy you have when you're wearing a fragrance in a given day. You know, you might be on the side of the fence where everything you have is beast mode, but the challenge might be for you to start getting into a more detailed scent profile, or finding brands that use better materials, and going into some smaller projection and longevity fragrances to get a little bit more detail and flavor. Or if you're on the other end of the spectrum, you might need to both find some beast mode fragrances or make your fragrances beast mode, and just open up your options. What do I want to say about this? Yeah, let me know in the comments section if your perception has changed on this conversation and what tools have really been a game changer for you in terms of addressing this problem. Because there's no reason for us to be out here struggling with this conversation. I think a lot of formulations are very well made, and you know, similar to my analogy of how top, middle, and bottom notes are essentially a magic trick in the scent experience, we got to do some magic tricks on our end to make fragrances go and be felt in the air and things like that. And the other thing I'll say is, the reason why layering and boosters and oils and things like that are so necessary to your journey is not primarily just so that you understand how to boost fragrances, but it's also essential because it gets you into comboing and layering and doing more with your fragrances, so you don't just use them one way. And that right there will open up a world of possibilities to the collector or to the fragrance wearer who doesn't have that many fragrances, but can unlock a world of chefing and discovery with new profiles without having to buy more bottles. And all of the materials I talked about to enhance your fragrance previously in this video are insanely more cheap than actual bottles. Let's get out of the 99 ml club. Let's get out of over scrutinizing longevity. I get we have our standards, but they might have to go down just a little bit, you know, open up that 3 to 6 hour window of longevity. If it can get in there, you can pretty much do anything with the fragrance. And if you want more videos about this conversation, tools, tips, tricks, things like that, I'd be happy to run it back and give you guys more content. If you type projection and longevity in on the search in my video vault, you'll see me dive into this conversation even further to equip you guys to have a better wearing experience. Love you guys. Like, comment, subscribe, turn on that notification bell. I need some water. I am parched, but I hope y'all have a blessed week. Peace.